very significant challenges, and it's obviously deeply saddening to say that it's now taken the lives of 19 people, 19 New Yorkers. We certainly hold their friends, their families, their loved ones in our hearts, and each loss is absolutely a tragedy. On Tuesday, as you know, we held a joint hearing between our public safety and general welfare committees where we were able to hear from city agencies on what they did the past couple weeks and what they're going to do moving forward to improve on operations and outreach to protect unsheltered New Yorkers. Because when temperature drops, our responsibility to all of our residents rises. And I'm certainly grateful to every single city worker who has not stopped in light of the cold, but actually continues to work harder because of it to keep New Yorkers safe and to keep the city functioning for all. I now want to move on to discuss our employee, Rafael Rubio, and just give an update on his status. We, as I have said from the beginning, strongly believe that our employee, Rafael Rubio, is obviously being wrongly detained by ICE. Almost a month after he went into a routine appointment, and again, I want to stress this, he did everything right. He went to a routine appointment, and yet, nevertheless, he was taken into ICE custody. He currently remains in ICE custody. I want to be clear, he currently is in New York, and I emphasize that because that is incredibly important. As you know, when we first announced that he was being taken by ICE, we brought in NYLAG and the New York Immigrant Coalition. We asked NYLAG to file habeas for him, which we did. That is absolutely imperative. His bond was unjustly denied on February 2nd. We have been attending, he has virtual court appearances. We have been attending every single one. That decision is now under appeal. We asked the law department to file an amicus brief on that decision, and so that amicus brief was filed this week. And we, again, reiterate that we demand his return, and we are working around the clock to secure Rafael's return. We are in almost daily contact with his family, and who are extremely upset, obviously, about what has happened, and we will not rest until justice is served and he is returned where he belongs, which is back in New York City and working for the City Council. So I want to now turn to ABNY. Last Wednesday was at the ABNY breakfast. I know many of you were at that as well. And I announced a few of the major proposals that we're going to be focusing on in the City Council moving forward. One of those is to create a new Office of Insurance Accountability that is modeled on our Office of Healthcare Accountability office that we created about a year and a half ago to really shine a light on opaque insurance prices. We know small businesses are paying 4 times more on average for small business interruption insurance. We know that homeowners insurance has skyrocketed, sometimes up to 300%. We know that high costs of insurance are impeding the ability to build more affordable housing in the city. Auto insurance has gone up 52%. Healthcare insurance in almost every category you look at in New York State is significantly higher. So by shining a light on this, as we did for healthcare, we believe that by shining a light on transparency, that will bring costs down. I also talked about our proactive approach to land use, where we are looking at the 215 public library branches. We will be releasing a plan in coming months in terms of which of the sites we believe we can build affordable housing on. We're looking at the 1,000 DCAS sites. We're looking at some other outside-of-the-box ideas to build thousands of units of new affordable housing. I also at ABNY announced our plans to end the long-term use of no-bid contracts, which could save the city literally billions of dollars. These no-bid contracts have been utilized by past administrations repeatedly. They were used during COVID, where no-bid contracting was extended over 100 times to the tune of $7 billion, or in the last administration, where no-bid contracts drove up the price of housing and feeding asylum seekers, so with the most infamous case being the $430 million contract to DocGo. So the city is currently procuring over $42 billion in goods and services, and that's actually, interestingly, the largest municipal procurement system in the country. And so for too long, this has been a system that has been fraught with inefficiency, disorder, and a vulnerability to corruption. So we owe it to taxpayers to finally shine a light on this, and that is a big priority and something that we're going to be doing. And then it was a couple lines in the speech, but it got a lot of attention, which is outdoor dining. We are focused on making outdoor dining year-round, and so we look forward to moving forward in the coming months a whole package of bills that is going to do just that, not only to make outdoor dining year-round, but also reduce some of the costs that have been significant hurdles to so many restaurants, cafes, and bars, as we saw a real drop in the number of applicants to outdoor dining. Tin Cup Day. So yesterday I was up in Albany with many members of our leadership team. Our majority leader joined me and some other members of our leadership team, and that in order to provide testimony on some of the council's priorities, we really focused on universal child care, building more affordable housing, how we can attack the crisis of homelessness, how we believe the city should not have to make payments on SNAP, and that we believe the state should be fully covering that. We talked about investments in NYC Future Funds, which would be an expansion of the NYC Kids Rise program to really make sure that we are providing college savings programs for all kindergartners. We talked about additional funding for NYCHA, because we know there are literally thousands and thousands of backlog and repairs. We talked about increased funding for legal counsel for groups like NILAG to help vulnerable immigrant communities across our city, so we can make it easier for our immigrant communities to be able to access proper legal representation, and particularly around habeas petitions, which are so vitally important. And certainly as the effects of ICE linger beyond the fear that they stoke in our streets, we also push for greater investment in the census, which is a topic that is near and dear to my heart, specifically asking the state for a $40 million investment in the census. We know that House Republicans are trying to put a citizenship question back onto the census. That will have disastrous results for decades to come for our city if that happens. We will literally lose billions of dollars of funding, not to mention the loss of numerous seats in the House. And I do want to say that that $40 million investment, which is what the city of New York invested in the census in 2020, is probably one of the best rates of return on investment of any government funding. That $40 million we invested in 2020 on the census yielded an additional $1.8 billion a year that we are getting back each and every year for the next decade for our city for programs such as Head Start and literally over 300 programs that New Yorkers depend on. So the pride flag, and I really want to thank Councilmember Chiose, who has been such a leader in this issue, and I know he's going to be talking a little bit about the resolution that he is putting forward. So earlier this morning, I was with Councilmember Osei, along with Councilmember Sanchez, after the pride flag was literally in the middle of the night taken, and there's no other way to say it, taken from Stonewall National Monument. Yesterday, we sent a letter to the National Park Service demanding the return of the flag. Let me be clear, Stonewall is obviously a sacred site in the city. It is sacred ground of civil rights. It's sacred ground for the LGBTQ community. We have literally thousands of people who come from all around the world to visit Stonewall, to go to that site for inspiration, for hope. And so to remove the flag is unconscionable. The first brick that was thrown at Stonewall in 1969 rippled hope throughout the 5 boroughs and catalyzed a whole global movement for dignity, for equality, for freedom. And so to take the rainbow flag, which obviously signifies inclusion, tolerance, love, respect, everything that our city is built on is so deeply offensive, and we are not going to stand by for this. And so I want to thank Councilmember Osei and all the members who joined us today. We are not going to rest until that flag comes back, to be clear. And so now let's move on to our stated agenda. So we're going to vote on 3 land use items: a development of a new 2-family home in Councilmember Linda Lee's district, an application for revocable consent to operate a sidewalk cafe in my district, Ethel's Cafe, and a rezoning in Councilmember Ariola's district to facilitate the development of an 11-story, 100% affordable building with approximately 267 affordable and senior housing units. We will also vote on a transparency resolution approving new designations of certain organizations receiving funding in the expense budget. And today, we are going to vote on the mayor's appointment of Stephen Banks to the position of Corporation Counsel. Today, we will also vote on the following pieces of legislation. In response, as I mentioned, to the Trump administration's removal of the pride flag from Stonewall, Councilmember Osei has sponsored a pre-considered resolution which would call on the United States Congress to respect the true history and significance of national park sites. So I now want to invite up Councilmember Osei to talk about this very important resolution.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Madam Speaker, for your swift leadership on this issue in organizing us to really step up and hold our federal government accountable. As the recently elected co-chair of the LGBTQIA caucus of the New York City Council, this is certainly a priority of ours to see our history preserved and protected. On March 27th of last year, Donald Trump issued an executive order entitled Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History. In its wake, a fascist sanitization of our history has taken place. They are suffocating the real history, our truth. What this executive order has delivered instead is a quiet erasure of this country's rich and complicated story. It is the erasure of the commemorations and celebrations that honor the diversity that has always made our country what it was always meant to be. Stonewall is the site where trans activists, especially trans women and trans people of color, ignited the movement for queer and trans liberation across this country. And now, with the removal of the pride flag at Stonewall National Monument, we see exactly what this executive order was designed to do. We cannot let the federal government continue its censorship campaign to erase our history. Trans people have always existed and will continue to exist. Queer people have always existed and will continue to exist. Black, Indigenous, and people of color have always existed and will continue to exist. But history does not bend to executive orders, and the promise of equality does not disappear because a flag is taken down. We say it here today, loud and proud. We are still here. The pride flag will rise again at Stonewall, and the LGBTQ community will never be erased. And I'll leave it at, the fact that I do believe that the president is using this as a distraction, right? He's focused on various different letters in the alphabet, LGBT. He should be worried about P, which stands for pedophile. Thank you very much.
Okay. We are now going to hear from Councilmember Shulman, who has introduced a bill that would require the New York City Department of Health to provide guidance on the health code to prospective child care programs applying for a permit. So I now want to invite Councilmember Shulman to come up.
You need the
yes.
Can you can you do that for me?
The box.
The box. Okay.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Today we will be voting on proposed introduction 437-A, sponsored by myself. This legislation would require DOHMH to provide guidance to prospective child care programs when they apply for a permit pursuant to Article 47 of the Health Code. Speaker Menon has been a stalwart advocate for child care, and I want to start by thanking her for her unwavering leadership and dedication to this issue. Opening a child care program in New York City shouldn't feel like navigating a maze, but right now, for too many providers, that's exactly what it is. Small community-based providers are forced to piece together requirements from multiple agencies, chase approvals in the right order, and figure out a process that should be clear from the start. That confusion slows down openings and makes it harder to bring new child care seats online at a time when families across our city are in need of affordable, reliable care. My bill brings clarity and transparency to this process. It requires the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene to create a clear step-by-step roadmap outlining every required permit, license, and approval, and the order in which they must happen. That information will be publicly available, regularly updated, and accessible in multiple languages. This is about making government work better. It's about removing unnecessary barriers so providers can focus on caring for children, not chasing paperwork. If we are serious about expanding child care across New York City, we have to start by making the path to opening one clear and accessible. This is a practical, common-sense step in that direction. I want to thank Speaker Menon again, the committee staff, my staff, and my colleagues for making this happen. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Councilmember Shulman. I just want to say one thing about this bill. This is very important because to get to universal child care, we need to build more child care facilities. We've had a situation where about 1,400 child care facilities have closed recently, and so we have a real issue where the demand is very high, but we don't have enough supply. And so this council is dedicated to reducing the regulatory hurdles and burdens that are making it so difficult to build more child care facilities. That's why I'm very excited about this bill, and we'll be doing more bills of this nature. I'm now going to call on our majority leader, Sean Abreu, to speak about his bill, which would require the Department of Sanitation to implement a pilot program by April next year to use power washing machines to clean sidewalk surfaces in commercial corridors. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We all love New York, but we don't all love what's stuck to the sidewalk. I think I spit out a piece of gum in Washington Heights in 1997, and I'm pretty sure it's still there. When you walk down a busy street in any borough, you see the grime that has seemingly built up for years, and I strongly believe we have to do something about it, and we are doing something about it. Clean sidewalks should be the norm, not the exception. And to make that happen, we're passing a bill that would create a pilot program that will cover busy corridors in each of the 5 boroughs to proactively power wash the sidewalks, blasting away that built up filth. The Department of Sanitation already uses power washing machines to eliminate graffiti, and we're bringing that same approach now to our sidewalks. Along with on-street trash containerization, this is an important step as part of our comprehensive approach to cleaner streets. I'm committed to ensuring that it succeeds. Again, thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank Sanitation Chair Justin Sanchez as well for her support.
Great, thank you. So Councilmember Julie Wan, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, but she sponsored a bill that would require the Chief Procurement Officer to ensure that at least one searchable and publicly accessible online interface provides information about city procurements that exceed the small purchase limits. And then lastly, I have sponsored a bill we're going to be voting on today that increases the penalties for providing false information on the qualifications of any bidder for city contracts. This is a good government bill that cuts down on corruption and fraud and abuse that we have unfortunately seen, and so I'm very excited about this bill as well. That concludes our stated agenda, and with that, I'm happy to take on-topic questions first. Oh, yeah, please.
Not on topic, but is anyone first? Anyone have on topic questions? All right, we move on to.
Okay, so outdoor. Oh, sorry.
Okay, so
Topic of the city council, is that a topic?
right, so we're gonna have members step aside while we take some off-topic questions.
Okay.
Sure.
How do you feel about Mayor Mondavi using the budget as a political prop to push his tax the rich agenda? Specifically, yesterday he announced the budget gap had shrunk, even though it was already known the economic forecast would be better than he had first thought.
So we are going to be, the council each and every year releases its own projections on the budget. So we will be releasing our projections in early March. We've been working on that. We believe that there are areas of savings. First of all, our budget analysis will, of course, include the Wall Street bonuses that occurred the end of December, early January. So it will reflect that. It will also reflect the actual number of employees, so there will be savings there at every single city agency as well. And so we look forward to the budget process. This budget process is now beginning, and we look forward to the conversation with the administration. We believe that there are many areas of savings. I've outlined some of them in the past month. Some of them include the eradication of no-bid contracts, where we could be saving billions of dollars. Some of them include the Office of Healthcare Accountability, where again, and the move to Emblem Health in particular is $1 billion savings to the city of New York. So we're going to be starting that budget process and having those conversations.
The question goes specifically, the idea of using the budget as a political prop to push an agenda, is that something that you and the council plan to engage in, as Mayor Mamdani had engaged?
We haven't released our budget projections. As I've said from the beginning, we believe there are additional areas of savings that have yet to be identified publicly that we will be identifying. Again, in every single city agency, we believe there are areas of savings. So we will be releasing our budget projections in early March, and I think people will see that there are actually some savings to be had. Thank you.
Hi, Madam Speaker.
Hello.
My question's about outdoor dining.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Do you mind just speaking up just a little bit?
My
Thank you.
question's about outdoor dining.
Great.
You announced your support for all
Yes.
outdoor dining. You had also suggested that some neighborhoods may be, and you used the word oversaturated with restaurants, and that you want to have more community conversations. We talked to some outdoor dining supporters, and they had felt like that could be a sort of dog whistle for people who just simply oppose outdoor dining because they want, to free up more parking spaces.
No.
What is your response to that? Sort of
No, not at all. What I mean by that is there are certain council members, Councilmember Harvey Epstein, for example, who has heard from some community groups and residents in the district who, for example, have concerns about sanitation issues, rats, etc. So I want us to see how we can address some of those issues while absolutely 100% committing to year-round outdoor dining. I also, at the same time, want to reduce fees for these businesses. As I mentioned, some of the revocable consent fees are very, very high for these small businesses to be able to bear. So I think in terms of comments that I've heard from some council members, Councilmember Epstein, for example, is just he wants to, and others want to make sure that when we do pass these package of bills, that we are thinking about issues like sanitation, rat mitigation, some of those quality of life issues. And so I'm confident that we can do that in this new package of bills.
And the package, do you have any timing updates? Like, do you think it will be something that you want to get done before, the spring season comes?
We're going to work as quickly as we can. We're also, of course, balancing the budget hearings, which are coming up. So, we're going to work as quickly as we can to move the package along.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much. Hi, Joe.
I had two questions for you.
Sure.
One, did you see these, like the tweets that this Hot Girls for Zoran founder had, and he was working for Brad Lander as a campaign consultant?
I have not. Sorry, I was up in Albany and working. I have not seen the tweets on that.
So I imagine you don't have a reaction. The mayor was asked about today. He hasn't condemned anything this person says. He basically is just saying he wasn't a part of the campaign.
Okay.
Hot Girls for Zoran is like a separate entity.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really have a comment on that because I'd have to see the tweets to be able to comment on it.
And so I was wondering, do you have a take on the city FEP's decision by the mayor to
yeah.
basically not, he doesn't want to pursue this expansion?
Yeah.
I think they're working on a settlement. What's your reaction?
So first of all, we worked very hard on this City FEPS litigation, and we believe it is cheaper to move people into supportive housing than for them to stay long-term in the shelter system. It's not only fiscally a better idea, but it's also the right thing to do to be able to provide long-term supportive housing. So we believe the litigation should end. We don't believe there should be endless litigation on this issue. So we do not agree with the approach of asking for a delay and continuing to litigate. We do not agree with that at all. We remain very open to talking to the administration about this issue, and so we will certainly do that. But we believe the litigation should end at this point, and there should be a candid conversation about how to move this forward. Wynn issued a report today indicating that there are significant savings to this approach and that it's actually less expensive to provide this supportive housing and to do this expansion of vouchers as opposed to leaving people long-term in shelters.
We have time for a few more questions.
Thanks.
Hi, Annie.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Thanks. More budget questions. I guess we're a couple days away from seeing the preliminary budget. How much of a surprise will it be to you? Have
Yeah.
you talked behind the scenes, officially, unofficially, with the other side of City Hall about what their savings plan or $1 billion savings might look like?
Yeah.
And then, relatedly, you've talked before about staffing shortages at the law department. This being an issue for several years now. Would you like to see the city's sort of official 2-for-1 hiring policy end? Do you think that vacancy reductions is a way that the city should be saving some money in the next budget? How are you thinking about staffing issues right now as it relates to the budget?
Sure. So first of all, I'll take the first question first about what do we expect to see in the prelim budget. So we would obviously, there are many priorities that this council has, of which we've been outlining in the last month. So we look forward to this presentation. This begins a budget dance. I've publicly said that I think the budget dance is that it's somewhat of a dance, which is unfortunate. It always would be better if there could be more coordination and not so much of that back and forth. I do believe we can do that. I've been talking very constructively with the mayor about that and the need to, again, we want to get on the same page in terms of what some of these costs are going to be, what some of the investments are going to be, what some of the joint priorities are going to be. In terms of staffing at the agencies, I have for the last couple of years said I am deeply, deeply concerned that many city agencies have been gutted. The law department is one of many agencies that are facing these staffing shortages, and the staffing shortages are resulting in a diminution of city services that we saw over the past couple of years. So we want to get those agencies fully staffed. We're asking many of these agencies to do a lot with less, and then New Yorkers see the result of that, which is a diminution in response times and city services, 311 complaints go up, all of the above. So we do want to see them fully staffed, and we will be engaging in this process of conversation about what is the best way to ensure the staffing increases.
Given that, would it be inappropriate, do you think, to see vacancy reductions in the preliminary budget proposal, or is there room for that and also staffing up in areas?
So it's hard to comment on that yet until we see the full. I don't want to comment on something in isolation. I want to look in totality at the prelim budget when it is released. But there are many areas that we're going to need to focus on. I do want to highlight another area of vacancies is paraprofessionals. We have enormous vacancies for paraprofessionals, which are really on the paraprofessionals are on the front lines in our schools, helping special needs kids in particular. There are the number of vacancies is unacceptable. Their starting pay is $32,500. The city of Boston starting pay for paras is $40,000, and the cost of living is much higher in New York. So we have situations like that I want to ensure are being addressed in the budget.
Time for one more question. We'll put you in one from each of you. So Matthew.
Hi, Speaker. The administration made several promises to you at your snow response hearing to provide data and other follow-up information. Have you gotten that information? If not, what's the deadline and will you release it? And a second question about...
Sorry, one more.
Second question about ICE and Customs and Border Protection potentially surging into New York. Do you have any legislative ideas to address that, or do you think the status quo is okay? The mayor is meeting with... Mayor Mamdani is meeting with Mayor Fry or Frey, however it's pronounced today.
So certainly on the snow removal, we fully expect to get the information from the city agencies. We were very clear that we want to get that information ASAP, so we do expect that we should get that shortly. We don't have it yet, but we do expect to get it soon. And I think that the point of that is, again, these oversight hearings are incredibly important because through that, we're as city council members, we're on the front line, so a lot of constituent issues, people generally call the council member first, or the council member's office. And so again, with these oversight hearings, it's an opportunity to show where there may be gaps and how they can be fixed. So the warming centers was one of them. We heard a lot about that from various council members and constituents. And so I feel like that was particularly an area where there were a lot of good ideas that came out of that hearing. But when we do get the information, we're happy to share that. And in terms of ICE, I mean, as I said at the top of this event that, what is happening with ICE is wholly and completely unacceptable. We are talking internally about a lot of different ideas. I mean, one way that the council has focused on is obviously on the legal representation, to beef up funding, to support a 24-hour hotline, because for so many immigrant communities, that first call is the most important call. Like our employee, Rafael Rubio, was given one call. He called the city council HR. So making sure that immigrant communities know their rights, making sure that they're being connected to legal representation, making sure that they know about this 24-hour hotline, all of these are things that we're looking to beef up and expand upon. And then legislatively, there are things that we are looking at internally that I'll be able to comment on when we're ready to.
Do you have any message for Rob Downey as he's meeting with the?
I'm sorry.
I look forward to hearing about that meeting and the conversations about
Yeah,
it.
one
I'm sorry.
Sorry, this is more on topic.
Yeah.
Stephen Banks's vote. At his confirmation hearing, there were some outstanding questions from council members about his commitment to have confidential counsel with the city council, like confidential legal advice, increasing law department staffing, and on current litigation, especially at city council. Did you receive any additional information about his commitments on those?
So, I mean, as you know, I was present for that hearing. I had a number of questions, including the ongoing representation of Tim Pearson, which I think is unacceptable and needs to cease immediately. I understand it's good via outside counsel, but that has to end. So that's something I feel very strongly about. In terms of increased staffing at the city law department, I used to work at a senior level in the city law department. The vacancies are really hampering the effective running of that agency. So we want to see those vacancies filled. We asked Steve Banks about that. He also wants to see them filled, and I know some of that will depend on the budget. So that's why when the prelim budget is released, we're going to be able to see what that number is. It's very important that those vacancies are filled, because the law department obviously is the outside counsel, so to speak, for every single city agency. It's also our counsel. We rely on the law department each and every day. So we really do want to see those vacancies filled. I think it's imperative that happen. And so we did have a lot of questions, and those questions I feel that were answered at our hearing. So thank you so much. Thank you.